the original resting conditions is referred to as the oxygen depth. Now, when you exercise, only 40% of the energy that's utilized, the ATP, is used as work. The remaining 60% is given off in heat. Okay, so with exercise, with muscle contraction, you generate heat that has to be dissipated. How do you dissipate heat, by the way?
Sweat.
Yeah, blood flow is shunted toward the skin, and that heat is dissipated as sweat. If you ever look at the Crescent City Classic, there are stations all the way along where people get water to rehydrate, replace water that's lost in sweat, and also to cool themselves down.
Have you ever done the classic?
Oh, only about 10 times.
Oh,
Got it. Have you?
I have not. I'm not much of a runner.
Now, you know,
Yet.
I have participated in a number of races, but how long is the Crescent City Classic?
Too long.
20. It's in the. Isn't it one? If it's. Is it a marathon? If it's a marathon.
I think it's a marathon.
I think it's like, oh,
I don't think I've done one that long. Okay, we're going to stop there because we want to move ahead.
it's a 10K, so
So how many, is that like 5 miles?
I think 2.5 is a mile.
10 kilometers, so 6.2 miles.
Yeah, that's too long for me.
You could do half of it,
I could.
or just register and not show up.
That's another option.
Are we looking at slides today?
You know, I don't know. I can't answer that question yet.
Okay.
I just don't know.
I'm assuming yes, since he's pulling them up right now.
What's that?
But it looks like you're pulling them up right now.
No, he's talking
No,
about microscope
he
slides.
meant microscope slides.
Oh, hello.
It's okay, sir.
What kind of popcorn is that you got?
It's skin pop.
How is the skinny pop?
I don't know, this is my first time.
Oh, it's the first time? Oh, wow.
I only like the ones that are like they make like flavored ones.
Yeah, you might try to.
Oh, that's the one I like.
Is it because it's low calorie or something? Why do they call it skinny pop?
Yeah. 43 calories per cup, and it's gluten free.
Wow. Can you taste the difference?
Yes.
So you can say it's not as good. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if it didn't have this white cheddar stuff on it, it would probably have no flavor.
Oh, wow.
No, I like the regular ones. They're just
Hold on, let me
good.
just,
Oh, okay, I haven't had the regular one.
let me just check this out for you.
That.
I mean, it's not bad by any means.
But you're right, it doesn't have a lot of flavor to it.
Can you be nice to people?
This is the girl.
Who
I
was?
personally prefer
Who was?
Cheez-Its. I was gonna see if you noticed. You did.
No.
You took
I
her
thought
food?
I thought it was an experiment.
It was just a sociology experiment. We're gonna see if you noticed. No, we don't really want it. I don't want it.
You know, I probably would have been looking for him later, but no.
I thought it was interesting that,
When did you take them?
When you guys left.
That's funny.
Oh.
I was just, whenever you pulled it out, I was like, oh, I have stuff like that.
all right. Let's wait.
Are we going to the second PowerPoint?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're going to the second PowerPoint. Did everybody pull up one of these? You know
Oh.
what this is?
Yeah, that's the list.
This is the muscle list. You know, if you read the chapter, there are lots of different muscles.
These are the ones we have to
What's
know.
that? Yeah, you can get a copy of these.
It's on Blackboard.
Oh, I don't have an extra one, no. No, I'm going off of this in class. But maybe Jasmine has one.
So these are the ones we have to know out of all
These
of
are the ones you
them?
have to know. And when I say you have to know, what we're going to focus on is origin, insertion, innervation, and function. Now, as you listen to me, though, you'll find out that as we go through some of these muscles, I'll say, oh, you don't have to know the origin for this one. Or you don't have to know its innervation.
That's very nice.
That's just
How was your
kinda how I
class,
am.
Emily? You
How
have
was
to
it?
know everything?
No, but there are some muscles that we have to know that y'all don't have to know.
No.
The shoulder. It should
Oh,
say-
just the rotator cuff.
We don't need to know.
I don't know this one.
Y'all don't need to know the rotator cuff.
No.
Origin, insertion, and function.
And what?
But what you'll do is, as we go through the muscles, you'll realize that there are some associations, just like when you think of 3, 4, and 6. You know, there's an association amongst those 3 cranial nerves. They all provide innervation to extrinsic eye movements. They all move through the superior orbital fissure. Well, in the same way, there's going to be some associations we'll talk about with respect to the muscles. I'm just waiting for this big old PowerPoint to load up.
It doesn't matter.
It's slow. It's slow. Now, when this finally loads up, the first thing we're going to talk about is the muscles of facial expression. Okay? In general, the muscles of facial expression are associated with small motor units, meaning they're capable of precision control. Okay? The other thing that the muscles of facial expression have in common is they're all innervated by the facial nerve. So you really don't have to memorize innervation for individual muscles. It's all the same.
That's something I would get wrong. I would know like everything else, and then you would ask like innervation. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't remember.
Oh, you mean like the easiest question that we had on our test that I got wrong? What was it?
Which was?
The curve.
Oh. That's okay. I got the vertebral artery wrong on the other test. That was the easiest, whatever test that was. I'm still not over it. I can't tell.
So here we go. Let's start talking about the muscles of facial expression. And
Uh-oh.
I'm going to go by this little list here.
This tomato, the apple fell. Tomato, that's an apple.
Oh,
What?
thank you.
I had an apple.
I said it was an apple. What?
Now, the first muscle we're going to
The
talk
third
about
time
is
I
this
was.
one here, the occipital frontalis. I think of the occipital frontalis as a bipartite muscle, meaning it has 2 components. Some people will refer to it as 2 individual muscles, those being the occipitalis and the frontalis. I don't really care which way you consider it. If I point to this muscle here in the practical, I don't mind if you call it the occipital frontalis or you simply call it the frontalis. Either one's acceptable. By the same token, if I point back here, you can either call it the occipitalis or the occipital frontalis. It doesn't make any difference. A lot of people consider this one unit because these 2 muscles are connected by this epicranial aponeurosis. Epicranial aponeurosis. Another name for the occipital frontalis is the epicranius muscle. I prefer not to use that term.
So don't use that.
Yeah, but just to let you know that some people do call it the epicranius. Now, the muscle originates from the occipital bone. Okay? In terms of the occipitalis, it's originating from the occipital bone and it's inserting into the epicranial aponeurosis. So that the epicranial aponeurosis will serve as the origin for the frontalis. And the frontalis is going to insert into the skin and soft tissue around the eyebrows. Now, that's a big difference, by the way, that exists between the muscles of facial expression and other skeletal muscles. Most skeletal muscles originate and insert into bone. But when we're dealing with the muscles of facial expression, many of them either originate and or insert into soft tissue. When you contract the occipital frontalis, it draws the scalp backwards. It draws it back. And in doing so, it does 2 other things. It raises the eyebrows and it wrinkles the forehead. So, for instance, Lauren, if I ask you to contract your occipital frontalis, how would you do so? Yeah, you will look suddenly surprised. Yeah, shocked perhaps. Okay? If you put a little more effort into it, I mean. Colin, let's see you. Yes! Yes, you look a little freaky. But people contract that, you know, if wow, surprise. Raise your eyebrows, raise your forehead. It emotes that expression.
Causes lots of wrinkles.
What's that?
It causes lots of wrinkles.
Well, you know, it can also cause chronic contraction of the occipital frontalis can also cause what?
Headaches?
Frontal headaches, tension headaches.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that why I had a headache today?
Because you're always surprised.
I've never surprised.
Now, what is this muscle called?
Orbicularis oculi.
Orbicularis oculi. It's called a sphincter muscle. By definition, a sphincter muscle is one that surrounds an opening such that when it contracts, the opening is closed. For a lot of these muscles of facial expression, origin and insertion are intuitive. In other words, these muscle fibers, because they originate from around the orbit, the principal bones of origination are the frontal bone and the maxilla, the roof and the floor of the orbit. They insert into the skin and soft tissue of the lids. The innervation, facial nerve. Easy greasy. You're already familiar with this muscle. Now, two other muscles that you're already familiar with. Zygomaticus major, zygomaticus minor. If I were to ask, what is the origin of the zygomaticus muscles? What would the answer be?
Zygomatic bone.
Zygomatic bone, yeah. Easy. And of course, it's going to insert into the skin and soft tissue along the corners of the mouth. Okay? So that when it contracts, what does it do? It raises the corners of the mouth, as if you're doing what?
Smile.
Yeah. As if you're
First time
smiling.
I've heard him talk in
Okay.
this class.
Now, when you contract the zygomaticus muscles, it also accentuates the nasolabial fold. So when you smile, you accentuate the nasolabial folds. By the same token, if there's a loss in zygomaticus tone, then there's attenuation of the nasolabial fold. It weakens.
How do you spell that?
Attenuation or weaken?
Attenuation.
You don't know how to spell attenuation?
I think I do, but I mess up my vowels.
God, you're so dumb.
Attenuation.
Thank
Back to
you.
secondary.
Hi.
This is just an English. This is not an anatomic word, by the way. That's just an English word. Just throwing it out there.
English was, I mean, I got A's, but it was never my strong suit.
Okay. Now, again, zygomaticus muscles. Make sure you differentiate the major from the minor. The major is lateral to the minor. What do we call this other sphincter muscle here that surrounds the mouth? Say it, Brittany.
Orbicularis.
Orbicularis. Orbicularis literally means the orbiter, oris of the mouth. Okay? So, of course, it's going to originate from mandible and maxilla and insert into soft tissue around the mouth, particularly around the corners of the mouth. Some people use the orbicularis oris more than others. I see the orbicularis oris being used all the time by young people. Why do I say that?
Yeah.
What's that?
Their mouths are shut.
Not their mouths are shut. No, it's used for puckering.
Oh, duck face.
So when you take those selfies, you're contracting the orbicularis oris. Or when you're kissing, you're puckering up. Same thing, you're using the orbicularis oris. Okay?
The duck face. I know, Jordan.
Just never really
Again,
understand it.
innervation is 7. Now, look at this muscle here that's medial to the zygomaticus minor. It looks like it's coming down from the orbit and it's inserting upon the upper lip. Okay? Now, it's right next door to the zygomaticus minor So part of it originates from the zygomatic bone, part of it from the maxilla, but it's inserting upon the soft tissue near the upper lip. You ever see a dog snarl, how it lifts that upper lip? Or if you ever see Elvis Presley, it kind of lifts up that upper lip. The muscle that's responsible for that is the levator labii superioralis. It's very similar sounding to the levator palpebrae superioralis that lifts the upper lid. But palpebrae is the term that refers to the lid. Labii, L-A-B-I-I, refers to the lips. So levator labii superioralis. It kind of has a triangular shape with a broad base becoming more narrowed as it reaches the upper lip. By the same token, by the way, there's a depressor labii inferioralis. It's on the other side. It pulls down the lower lip. It would originate from the mandible and insert upon the tissue of the lower lip. So it would lower the lower lip as if you're pouting. Okay? So again, levator labii superioralis and depressor labii inferioralis. All of these 7. Now, look at this horizontally positioned muscle here. This is called the risorius. My family was close friends with another family growing up. Their names were the Schneiders. They owned a paper company. And great family. The dad was the nicest guy in the world. His name was Mr. Tony. But when he got angry, he did this. He kind of tensed his lips. He drew his lips laterally, to indicate he was upset with you. Well, when you tense your lips like that, you're contracting the risorius. Okay. Now, the risorius originates from fascia, from connective tissue overlying the masseter. You don't see the masseter here very well because it's covered by other tissue.